ما ينبغي لجلال وجهك وعظيم سلطانك اللهم لك الحمد حتى ترضى ولك الحمد إذا رضيت ولك الحمد بعد الرضا. All praise is due to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We worship Him, we seek His forgiveness, we seek His guidance, and above all we seek that He accepts our repentance and grants us a place in Jannah, inshallah. I'm very happy to be here. At the same time, I'm humbled being again amongst you. You have known me for many years, the majority of you. Just a pleasure to be here. I think the topic of the theme was the good life, right? The good life. I will start with that, the good life. The good life can only come by initiating the change. By initiating the change. The change of what? Of the self first. Many of us wonder how those leaders reach to the top, how those successful people reach to a certain level of success, and so on and so forth. They all, if you look at their lives, they all at one point made the decision to initiate a personal journey into changing themselves. A little bit more about myself. I studied in Algeria, as you heard, to be an engineer. And at the end of my 5 years of studies there, I sensed that there was a need for me to do something different. And it was the years where Algeria was very, very peaceful, still the beginning of the 80s. But I could sense that I wanted something else. And although I grew up as an orphan, I did tell my mother, I told her, Mom, I feel like I have to go somewhere else. She said, just make sure you don't forget me. And I promised her that, alhamdulillah. So when I came here, and I look back, all these past, since 1985, I've been in the United States. It has been a constant change for myself. An inner one, as well as an outer one. And any one of us who wants to have a good life, and good life, let us put it this way, it's not necessarily to have wealth. In fact, wealth can be a calamity. For those who don't know how to manage wealth, for those who keep wealth in their hearts and instead of their hands, it is literally a calamity, and the examples are abundant. The good life is to attain a certain level of maturity in which the individual Muslim, man or woman, knows their position, his or her position vis-a-vis Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, vis-a-vis himself or herself, vis-a-vis his family or her family, and vis-a-vis the community. And last but not least, vis-a-vis the world. The world. Every single individual on this planet does have an effect on other individuals, whether they are around him or her or far away from them. I'll give you just an easy example. The crisis that's happening in front of our eyes, it does affect us. The refugee crisis. The other one in Yemen. Many of us go with thoughts about those families. So each individual is affecting another individual. It's like a domino effect. We don't realize that. And I was thinking about this topic. I told myself that if we don't have a collective, literally a collective change within our communities, with many individuals starting the change within themselves, their families, and then their communities, we will not reach to that level that the Sahaba radiallahu anhum did. Alhamdulillah. And this takes me to the Sirah Nabawiyah. Okay. Look at the biography of the Prophet ﷺ and his companions, radiallahu anhu. You see the personalities, whether of his male companions, and many of us know their names, from Umar ibn Khattab, Abu Bakr as-Siddiq, and all of them, Abdullah ibn Mas'ud, radiallahu anhum jami'an, or the women. We see that they initiated a change. It's very deep, and this is what many of us, unfortunately, and when I say many of us, not only the Muslims, we're talking about the mass or the massive population on earth. We just live in a comfort zone. And if we have acquired something, we just like to keep it and that's it, I'm fine. We shouldn't be fine. We shouldn't be content. We shouldn't be happy with just a little bit of knowledge. It shouldn't be enough. Because they didn't do that, those companions, radiallahu anhum. They showed us the path. They showed us the way. A man that was very harsh before embracing Islam turns into crying for things that may seem to us very simple. What a change happened in him, Umar ibn Khattab radiallahu anhu. Big change. Upon hearing a child crying under the tent in the night of a caravan that stopped, and questioning the mother behind the veil of the tent, not knowing, she doesn't know who he was and he didn't know who she was, and he kept telling her, make sure the child is quiet, the men are tired, the journey was long. And he did it once and twice, and the third time she told him, leave us alone. She didn't know she was talking to Amir al-Mu'mineen. This very man that was extremely harsh, radiallahu anhu, on the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam before he embraced Islam. And then she said, I'm trying to wean this child. He said, how old is he? And the dialogue is that in the dark of the night, a man outside of a tent, a woman inside of the tent. And he said, when she said 3 months old or so, he said, Wayhaka ya Umar. Woe on you, Umar. You want to kill the children of the Muslims? And he immediately, that same night, he changed the law, saying that upon birth, a child has the right to get money from the treasury. So the change, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the beautiful verse that the majority of the Muslims say, but we don't comprehend it in depth. And inshallah, our Shaykh here will go in that area. إِنَّ اللَّهَ لَا يُغَيِّرُ مَا بِقَوْمٍ حَتَّى يُغَيِّرُوا مَا بِأَنفُسِهِمْ. So deep. So deep. Allah does not change the condition of any group of people until they change the condition that is within their heart. This is very deep. Do we have that will? The will is there, but naturally the human being tends to stay in a comfort zone. They call it the law of the least effort. Ask a person to walk uphill or better downhill, they would say, Wallahi, let's walk downhill. And this law is a natural law that Allah has put. Drop some water on a flat surface. If it's perfectly flat, it's going to stay right there at that spot. If there is a little inclination, it will follow it. So there is that tendency. However, we know historically, and we know even about things around us, for them to become better, there has to be an effort. We have to initiate an effort, and the effort has to come from within. The society may play a role, the parents may play a role, but it has to come from within. And it can come from within with what? With a certain level of understanding. And this is what we fail in. Albert Einstein, he said, thinking is a hard process. That's why only few people do that. It is hard. But what he meant is thinking at a high level. At a high level. I'll give you another example. The majority of the words that we speak to one another or to our families, we can probably bundle them in less than 300 or 400 words on a day-to-day basis, even at work. How many people who have high degrees in their own professions use those sophisticated words with their colleagues of the same level? Very few, because it takes that mental effort. And the Prophet ﷺ, we see how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala shaped him. In the beautiful, among the very early surahs that came, يا أيها المدثر قم فأنذر وربك فكبر وثيابك فطهر والرجز فاهجر. Orders, the imperative form of the Arabic language. يا أيها المدثر, a call to him, or you who wrap yourself. قم فأنذر, stand and call. Okay. وثيابك فطهر, and your clothes. It's basically a change upon a change upon a change. It's no longer, there is no time anymore for taking it easy or sleeping. And subhanallah, even the educational systems that we have around the world, very few of them speak about that. Very few in elementary schools or middle schools or high schools speak about these efforts that, or this effort that students have to go through to reach to that level. We take it for granted that I'm going to teach them math, algebra, and science, and they will be somebody. Not necessarily. La wallahi. Not necessarily. So this type of a teaching for a better life, it has to come from within, and it has to be a collective effort. That means it has to take a community, the right leadership, to start instilling this in the members. In fact, the Muslim crisis, the Islamic or the Muslim crisis nowadays is a crisis of leadership. Wallahi, it's a crisis of leadership. If I were to close my eyes and to see who would be an influential Muslim that can lead the Ummah now at a high level, I fail to find them. And if I find them, probably one or two that are already old. We are failing in that. The Prophet ﷺ, he instilled so much in his companions, men and women, that it was like an abundant source of new leaders. Literally, new leaders. They were like stars, as he mentioned in the hadith. My companions, he said, they are like stars that people will be guided by. So this is the talk that I have for tonight. If we want to be a better individual, we have to ask ourselves, who am I? Who do I want to be? What kind of a Muslim I want to be? If I'm not able to wake up for Fajr, how can I expect that my children will wake up for Fajr? It has to come by me first. It has to be something from within to initiate that change. And it takes years. It is a process, by the way. Many people think, oh, alhamdulillah, now he's praying, he's going to be the best. No, it's a process. It's a journey. It's a lifelong journey. And when we read, as I said, the history of the companions, radiallahu anhum, and even influential leaders throughout, from the time of the beginning of humanity to now, it was a journey for them to reach a level where they start to influence the masses. It's not something easy. It's not hard either. It is a conscious desire from within to start the change. إِنَّ اللَّهَ لَا يُغَيِّرُ مَا بِقَوْمٍ حَتَّى يُغَيِّرُوا مَا بِأَنفُسِهِمْ. And subhanAllah, I was stricken by the statement made by Jim Rohn when he said, it is not the blowing of the wind that determines your destination. It is the setting of the sail. It's the setting of the sail. You are the commander on board. You put that sail to make sure that your ship or your boat will go into a particular direction. As for the winds, they will blow north and south and east. It depends on you and how you set, basically, your way to reach that destination. Are we willing to do that? Are we willing to start by ourselves and help our spouse, help our children? And with the children, I ask you to be patient. I have a long experience with them. Many years of experience. I have seen children who literally, I say, mashallah, they brought many gray hair on my head. Okay? And I thought then I did not have this experience. I thought that they were a lost cause. Now they are one of the best Muslims, mashallah, that I know. Why? Because it was a process for them. And they needed an individual like me and like their parents and like their teachers, like their sheikh, to teach them, to guide them through that. So what we need to do is to awaken that desire. It's there. We have it, by the way. None of us here would think of himself or herself that he or she is not important. Every one of us is important, at least for himself or herself. So that desire that we have, it is dormant in the large majority of the people, not only the Muslims, the people. They have to start. We have to start it from some point. And honestly, I did not find better than the Sirah Nabawiyah, the Prophet's life, alayhi salatu wasalam, and his companions, radiallahu anhum, to help in that process of change. I always give this metaphor. How do you think they make those beautiful swords, beautiful blades, very sharp, very shiny? At the origin, it was what? It was a mineral, iron. And those of us who have seen iron how it is, it looks like some dirt that has a color, reddish color. How did it change from that to that beautiful blade? How? Change upon change upon change. It had to be dipped in extreme heat and then hammered by the ironsmith and then put into cold water and hammered again and again and again and again to reach that level. Believe me, brothers and sisters, we all, especially those of us who already have children and families, we went through that. We just failed to see it. If you look at your life back, or your life, ask Sheikh Maghrawi, his life. Ask Brother Nuruddin, Brother Khalid. So many. They will tell you, yeah, it's true, I went through so many difficulties in life. Those difficulties, it's a blessing from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We just don't realize that. It is a blessing when we go through difficulties. It is a blessing in a sense that Allah is molding us, is shaping us, is helping us to become better individuals. The loss of a child, the loss of a husband, the loss of a father, the loss of wealth. It's amazing. And how we cope with that. And those who are patient, and those who take the time to isolate themselves, to look back, and to ponder, and to question, and to pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and dig deep in the faith, you will see them change. They become better individuals. I lost everything, brother, but alhamdulillah, I feel so good. Having less is a blessing. I didn't realize that. Others would say, yes, he passed away. But alhamdulillah, I understand better that my father passed away. Alhamdulillah, he used to worship Allah. He used to pray. He was a good Muslim. That's all what I know. You see, instead of asking the why, Allah, why me? Why this? Why? We don't ask why. We should ask how. How can I come out of it? How can I change? How can I be a better individual? And if we do that, we literally take the position of leaders, whether with ourselves. And I asked this question the other day to a group of brothers. I told them, can you lead yourself? Ask yourself. Don't answer me, please. Can you lead yourself? Because if you cannot lead yourself, if I cannot lead myself, how can I lead my wife and my children? So there is a leader in you. There is a leader in you. There is a leader in every individual. Is that leader at the level of that leadership? It can be for a better life, but it's a process. The dream is for free. You can dream. Everybody can dream anything. But the journey is not. You pay a price for that. Majority of us who are migrants have paid some heavy price when we left our dear countries. I'll tell you just one example. I went to Algeria and I grew up in the city of Wahran. And I wanted to buy something from a market. Medina Jdida, if you know it. Wallahi, brothers, the smell of the spices when I walked and I saw the people, and then the smell of the fish, and I had tears in my eyes. It was like a bath of memories. It brought tears to my eyes with me, young, going with my mother, walking the streets. I paid a heavy price to be here. Was it worth it? Every single second of my life, it was worth it. Because I feel extremely humble before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, first, and before you, to be in this very position to talk to you about this change. For a better life, we have to initiate the change. If you lose your job, smile. Go to yourself, even if you're fired, brother or sister. Go home, relax, make wudu, pray 2 rak'ah, and smile to yourself and say, this is the new beginning. It's a wonderful adventure that I'm going to go through. I want to experience it. Because there is one thing guaranteed by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And He swore by that. وَفِي السَّمَاءِ رِزْقُكُمْ وَمَا تُوعَدُونَ. And in the heavens, He said, in Surah Al-Hujurat, Dhariyat. He promised that. He said, in the heaven is your sustenance and whatever we have promised you. But he continued, فَوَرَبِّ السَّمَاءِ وَالْأَرْضِ إِنَّهُ لَحَقٌّ مِثْلَ مَا أَنَّكُمْ تَنْطِقُونَ. And he swore, العلي العظيم subhanahu wa ta'ala, because he knows that we human beings are weak. We have the tendency to not disbelieve, but we want to see, we want it granted, we want to see it. He said, and by the Lord of the heaven and the earth, okay, وَرَبِّ السَّمَاءِ وَالْأَرْضِ إِنَّهُ لَحَقٌّ. It is the truth that your sustenance is guaranteed and whatever you have been promised. It's guaranteed. So why do I worry about that if I lose my job? Why some individuals go crazy? Because the nafs in this case, that nafs is very insecure. And the nafs can only be secure with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. أَلَا بِذِكْرِ اللَّهِ تَطْمَئِنُّ الْقُلُوبِ. So individuals who go crazy, who harm themselves, their families, their relatives, their neighbors, upon losing something, they have a very insecure type of soul. And for us, we are both. We are matter and spirit. And that soul, we have to help it grow better than the physical growth that we had. Sister Francesca, an Italian from England. I met her husband, we became very good friends. She said, I want my children, she embraced Islam very late in her life. She said, I want my children, I want their spiritual growth to be at the same time as their physical growth, if not more. And I was just stricken by her deep analysis. Because many of us, and we have seen it in our countries and even here, if we were to ask some Muslims about the nafs, about the relationship with Allah, brother, I don't have Allah, I'm so busy. No. Initiate that change. Initiate that growth to become better leaders. Leaders, if only for ourselves. I know my way. And subhanAllah, through more reading, and I'm going to stop with this. You give me 20 minutes, right? I'm done? One more minute. There is a new field of study. It's very recent, probably 20, 25 years. It's about emotional intelligence. And I think some of you already heard about that. It's the ability of an individual to understand his or her emotions as they are happening, and eventually to monitor them, not to let it explode. One. Second is to understand people around him or her, the people that he or she deals with on a day-to-day basis, to understand their feelings and their emotions, and eventually to feed them, to motivate them, to help them grow. It's so deep. It's it's a wonderful field, by the way. Okay? And it's good that we dig into that. Because oftentimes, when there is a stimulus, that means when some action happens to us, particularly difficult actions, it's our feelings and emotions that take over. There is no room for the reason. Could it be that this is why the Prophet ﷺ said it's all about the reaction when you have that first calamity strike, when it strikes the individual? His or her first reaction, what do? Oh, so and so, your son died in an accident. How he's going to react? And the Prophet ﷺ, as well as all the Anbiya alayhim salam, they had a deep understanding of their personal feelings and emotions, and they could relate to each one of their companions. Even with their enemies, they could see it before it happens. We all have that, but it is dormant again in ourselves. So we have to learn to initiate the change. If I know I have a temper, I'm going to monitor my temper. If I know I overspend, I'm going to monitor that. If I know I am stingy, I'm not going to be stingy like that. Initiate the change, and you will see your life will turn to a beautiful, beautiful, subhanAllah, beautiful, literally a film that you would love to look back and say, Alhamdulillah, that Allah brought me all the way here. And you will see also yourself with that deep relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It will increase. And with this, I'll leave it to Sheikh al-Mughrawi, who is my contemporary and from Algeria, mashallah. Allah yajzik wal khair. This is your area of expertise. لا 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 والله الله يجزيك بالخير. الله يحفظك بارك الله فيك. جزاكم الله خير.